Welcome back to Rooted in Impact, a United Way Coastal and Western Connecticut podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Gaudiano. Today's conversation is about community power, educational equity, and what happens when families come together to advocate for their children and their future. I'm joined by Maya Donald Spruill, founder of Corners Community in Stamford, a community action and advocacy organization led by parents and residents who are working to ensure that young Black children have access to equitable, reliable education, among much, much more, which you'll hear about in a second. Maya, you're really working at the intersection of education, jobs, community, environment, which is not something we always see and not something we've really had a chance to dive into on this podcast. So before we talk about Corners specifically, I'd love to just hear, who are you? What experiences have shaped your commitment to this type of work?
Thanks for that question. Hi, my name is Maya. I am a longtime resident of Stamford, Connecticut. I would say that my family kind of shaped who I am. My grandfather migrated up here from Hardyville, South Carolina after World War II. He wanted to create community up here because obviously, as you can think of in Hardyville, South Carolina, after World War II, it wasn't so friendly for Black.
A little different.
A little bit different. And he was, I would say, a legacy builder. He is someone who believed in his community. He was a business owner, from sawmills to construction. He believed in hard work and working together as a community. And I believe that I lived through him, just watching him and from buying a 6-family railroad apartment to really help people from down south come to Stamford to be able to start over and start fresh with community. I'm a mom of 2 little boys. They are future leaders for sure.
That's the best we can do as parents, is hope that we're raising future leaders.
It is a hard task. And so any parent that has a future leader in their household, I am giving you nothing but positive energy and patience, because it is not easy to tell them to do something. They're like, I'm a leader. Let me find ways to make this spin better. So I love my community. I've always celebrated Black history. We celebrated Kwanzaa and still celebrate Kwanzaa. We love learning about our culture and really honoring it. That's who I am. I could probably keep talking, but
that's both an amazing legacy of your family, and it so seamlessly flows into the very little that I know about you and the more that I hope to know, and of course the wonderful work of Corners. So tell us about Corners. What's the organization? How did it start? What's your goal and mission?
Yeah, we had to do a DBA, so doing business as, to add the community, because originally we were Corners Inc. and the community just decided to add the community to it, and so it
now you're Corners Community.
Now we're community or Inc., whatever you guys want to call us. But it is an acronym. So Corners stands for Challenging Ourselves by Restoring Neighborhood Equity and Reliable Schooling. And our focus is on uplifting the Black community. And we understand that, what that's rooted in is trauma, right? It's rooted in an understanding and a miseducation of our community and of people that may not look like us, understanding who we are and the power that we truly have. So we do focus a lot on the youth because they are our future, right? But ultimately understanding that without parents and supporting and educating and empowering them, we necessarily don't get to impact the youth as much as we need to. So we have we do this in sort of multiple ways. And so we start off with our Black Moms group. That is a group that was really designed because a lot of Black parents shared that there wasn't any real safe place for them. And by calling it Black Moms, it sort of signaled them to come and see what this was all about. And we worked together with them to figure out what it is that they needed. There were resources from housing to education to learning about IEPs, right? To learning about what it looks like to have a child that might struggle or have a child that is actually really advanced and needs some advocating with them. And then from that, the dads were like, well, what about us?
So you create a space for them too.
It's only right that we created a space for them. Theirs is a little bit different. They like to, talk through cornhole and other activities, but it's a bonding experience for them where they can get together and learn resources too and really know what it's like to be a dad. Our age ranges are for parents like 21 to 75, right? We don't have a limit because we understand that with wisdom really comes education. And if you have adult kids, you know what it's like to have a 4-year-old. You've been there before, right? In fact, you might be one of the most experienced people. And then from that to we've created, which is my favorite, not to say that the other programs aren't amazing because they are, but my passion really is with our baseball team. So
yeah. I knew we were going to get to the baseball team. Either you were going to take us there or I was taking us there.
Always taking
about the baseball team.
I will always tell you about baseball. So our baseball team, and one of honestly, the histories about me is that when I was young, I went to Camp 42. And so that was a summer camp that was here in Stanford, and it honored the legacy of Jackie Robinson. And so I didn't know that years and years later, I would ultimately be spearheading this all-Black baseball team in honor of Jackie Robinson and really in honor of that barrier. It started really from just being upset at the fact that, our kids and their reading levels are so below, and it didn't seem like there was any one thing that we could, that was done. Like if you asked for resources, it wasn't really there that fit the needs of our boys. And so we thought that what we would do is get these boys into a team building project, which was the baseball team. So we sponsored 13 boys to, and I should say, just a quick plug-in, United Way, thank you, because this was ultimately an idea that we had. And without United Way's support, we wouldn't have been able to really start this relationship with the league. Because you can't just walk in somewhere like, hey, we want to sponsor 13 boys, but we don't have any money.
Right. I mean, this is a perfect example of this sort of community building type work that United Way values and that we saw you all wanting to do, and a little bit of funding, right? It doesn't have to be huge amounts. A little makes such a difference.
So, and it builds the relationship, because one thing that I would say is after this one time of having to pay that fee, that registration fee for those boys, because of the work that we did, the league was like, listen, don't worry about fees anymore. We will sponsor them as long as they want to play. We will do that. And so far, we're going into our 6th season. And literally, it's so funny because one of the commissioners was like, hey, I need the name so I can register the boys, so I can waive the fee. So it really has just really brought this sense of community and pride and just partnership, which I think is super helpful for everyone to see and witness.
And my piece of that baseball team is also about the parents' involvement, right? And
Huge.
And creating space for them in that ecosystem as well, right?
100%. So our parents had no idea about baseball. They were, and the first couple of games, they were like, this is ridiculous. They're cheating. It's not fair, because there was just this really misinformation. They never knew the game. I mean, what we did with the boys, or we took them to a baseball game to start off the season so they were able to see the Mets play. But then we noticed that just, that wasn't enough. And when it comes to a sport like baseball, where we got our boys in when they were 8 years old, and in Stanford, it really is a baseball city. So there's boys joining in. I have a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old has just started. So if you started your child at 5 and they've been playing since they were 8, they have so much experience, right? It's almost a natural thing versus starting at 8 and having to learn and catch up. But kids adapt as long as the environment is right. And we're just like so excited because what has ended up happening is we've informed the parents to not only learn about baseball, but to learn about how to coach baseball. So our moms in particular, we call ourselves the Scrapers. That's our team. And we play against the boys every season. And it's just a great way for them to just see the parents out and learning and trying their hardest. And it's probably one of the most emotional games because boys do not like to lose.
Moms don't like to lose either. So
That's true.
Moms don't like to lose. But, when I hear all of this, right, like Corners at its core is about carving out space for people. It's about building community, providing resource connection and education information sharing that otherwise is sometimes so hard to get. Talk to me about what systems you think you are tackling. What systems are you breaking down through this work?
Yeah, so definitely I like to start it off with parents, a lot of our moms, and the school system. Most of the time, they're not really sure how to connect to the school. Like, they'll get a call that their child is misbehaving. They'll get a call that their child is not doing well on tests. But in regards to just staying sort of on top of it and learning what to ask for, who to ask, if I'm talking to the teacher and the teacher isn't kind of meeting me with the information that I need, how do I escalate that in a way where I can get the answers and most importantly that my child can get the support. And so for us, I think that we're really tackling that specifically because from our 13 boys, 11 of those boys are below reading level. And so because we've seen that and because the parents have shared that, what we've done is created this book club, right? And the purpose of the book club is really just to get them to enjoy reading. And by working together as a team, as they have already done now for multiple seasons, we've encouraged them now to work together as a team to learn how to read and to be encouraged about reading. And the parents are completely on board with that too. We popcorn read on Zoom calls every week. We're on our 4th book right now, and they're able to choose their books. The first 3 books, it's all about me. No, the first couple of books was about us, but then understanding that now it is time for you all to tell us what you like to read. And of course, that's Dog Man. But it is something that they enjoy. And so we popcorn read on Zoom. It's about 2 hours long. For them, it is probably the best Sunday activity. And the parents join in. And so it's really just about connecting them with education and resources and learning too, like learning about these other programs and resources that are available to them.
Yeah, and doing it with people that, I would imagine are more like family.
Absolutely.
That look like them and where there is now such a safe, trusted space to be who you are and who you want to be. So that's pretty remarkable. I'm going to let us take a quick pause to talk about ways that your support is making a real difference in our community right here at United Way, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Not long ago, Angela was working hard to build a better future for herself and her family. After struggling to find steady employment, Angela made a bold decision. She enrolled in nursing school, determined to create long-term stability. But taking that step forward came with new barriers. The cost of textbooks, school supplies, and reliable transportation quickly added up. And without help, her education was at risk of being put on hold. That's where the Alice Fund stepped in. Through United Way, Angela received emergency financial assistance to cover her school materials and transportation. With that support, she stayed enrolled, stayed focused, and stayed on track toward a career in healthcare. There are hundreds of stories like Angela's, and with your support, there can be hundreds more. You can make a difference by donating to the Alice Fund. Visit UnitedWayCWC.org to learn more and see how your support helps hardworking neighbors move from crisis to opportunity, right here in our community.
All right. And we are back, Maya. You've told us some really incredible things about Corners, your story. Is there anything else about the work that you're doing right now that we've missed or that you haven't had a chance to share?
Yeah. So one of the projects and initiatives that we've recently started was our housing initiative. So with our families, just like my grandfather, how he kind of came here, planted his roots, and tried to help. What we've seen is there's so many generational homeowners that are in the process of losing their homes, and a lot of this is due to many resources. Right, when you have a grandfather's home. And, for a while, he may have been the one paying the bills, or the bills may have been lower, but then there's something that happens like a boiler or a leak in the roof that becomes this really large expense that you're not able to take care of. Then you're in an uncertainty, right? And then in Stamford in particular, we have the Blight Office, which has really been a force that's really been deterring a lot of family and homeowners. So our initiative is really about empowering the homeowners, right? Looking at different ways to develop and fix their homes so that they're able to stay there. There are people in Stamford, Black people who own homes in Stamford that do not want to leave. But are feeling like they're being pushed out. So really just helping, providing resources. Also, too, with just for the older community, we see that there is some mistrust with the city. So kind of helping to bridge that connection and letting them know that things may have happened in the past and it's valid for you to feel like there's some mistrust. But let's see if we can figure out ways to work together with the city now so you can stay in your home and be comfortable and maybe even rent out portions of it for income.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. We know how hard home ownership is, right? That continues to be. And there's lots of history, redlining, right? We could talk about that all day long.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you have families who've actually been able to, at some point, acquire a home, to go in the opposite direction when we're still trying to undo so much historical racism just feels like the wrong direction to go in. And we also know so many people, right? 40-50% of people don't have enough to live off of. And so when things like boilers or leaks or, any of those kind of structural mechanical things in homes, when those go and break, people don't have money to repair that. And so I think part of it is how can you access capital to be able to do that and repair and stay? And then to your point, how can we make sure we have really positive working relationships with government who needs to be there to help in these instances? And so it's both of those, right? It's that city government side, municipal government side, and the access to capital that so many people struggle with.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, right? We've lost moms, dads, baseball players, all because they couldn't stay in their homes anymore. And I mean, I am completely for, adapting and growing as a community and just making sure that as we're growing and as we're developing, that we're thinking of everyone and making sure that, development can look different. And, understanding that you may not have enough money to sort of completely renovate your home, but how and who can help and just providing those resources and those services in a way that is helpful to all.
Yeah. I think there's more there, and we should absolutely talk about it. I was at a forum on housing on Monday in the city of Stamford, and so there's openings for these sorts of conversations. So we'll table that one and come back to that. I'll ask two more questions. One is, do you have a story that really illustrates the impact of your work that you would share with us?
How much time do you have? No,
I know. Give me the 1 or 2 minute version, and then we'll figure out a way to share more stories with people outside of this.
Of course. So, we've got to go to baseball.
Yep. Let's go to baseball.
So we had one of our boys, and we call him our Fantastic Five. He was our first five boys who joined. And so he struggled a lot. Family struggled a lot when we first came. And not only just on the baseball field and understanding just sort of how to control your emotions. Baseball could be a very, even though it's a slow game, it can be a very emotional game. You could be winning, and then that next inning, you're not.
You're not.
And being able to control those strikeouts too, right? Like it's a part of the game. It's 70% failure, and so I think that that's so helpful for our boys. But yeah, so there was a lot of just anger. There was a lot of aggression with him, and we do not kick any kid out because they can't handle themselves. What we do is we work with them and we work with the parents because we understand that in order for any kid to get support, it has to be wrapped around. And so really talking, he lived with his grandmother. He didn't live with his mom. And so that was something that, he was fighting, just understanding that he wanted to be with his mom, but he couldn't be with his mom. And so just being that space for him and showing him, our coaches, we did a lot of private coaching with him because we learned that kind of group setting wasn't right for him at that moment. So really just working with him one-on-one, teaching him how to breathe, and then having advocating kind of sessions with his grandmother with the schools, because she also kind of let us know that school was a problem too, and there was a lot of interactions and suspensions. And so we were able to kind of all work together cohesively to get him the support that he needed in school. So because she wasn't driving, so to be able to provide that service in school for him. And so just from that first season to now, that particular little boy leads our calming moments when the kids are really upset and just, they might be losing. And so he tells them to, all right, guys, let's get together. And he'll tell them to close their eyes, count to 5. And then he'll tell them to breathe, and then he'll tell them to shake it off, and then they'll put their hands in, and they'll go 1, 2, 3 corners, and you can just see that growth from him. And so, and now he's a leader. He is our calming leader. That's his role, and so that's awesome. That's probably one of the best.
And it's one kid, one parent, one family at a time.
Yeah.
Right? We're not talking about scale, but
no,
you change small amounts of lives, and it really can completely disrupt and kind of regrow a path forward for somebody. So,
and we learned that too, just within Corners and just really focusing on the Black community. It's so much better and more effective. We don't worry about quantity, right? It's not a numbers game. It's really about quality, because we need to build the relationship with the family, with the child, so that we're able to help them grow. And so we cap at a certain number because we need to understand that we've got to work with the parents, we've got to work with the kids, and no one comes in ready to just, listen to us. I mean, our practices are intense, and so there is a whole thing. But our boys and our parents, I mean, we can just see the growth in every single one of them, and that's why we are focused on staying with them, seeing them through, not getting a new group, focusing on this group and following them through.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, my final question for you. When you think about the work that you do every day, what gives you hope that real change is taking root, and how can people who are listening support that momentum?
Hit me with that question one more time.
Yeah. What gives you hope that real change is taking root because of the work that you're doing, and how can people listening help support that?
Yeah, I can definitely say I see it in the conversations that we have. I can see from just listening to the boys and how they handle certain situations. I mean, you have to understand that even in 2026, people still know that we're an all-Black team, and boys and adults are still saying things to them, but just understanding how they handle it at their small age, right? They're 10 and they're still able to figure that out for themselves. I mean, they come to us, but they're not, freaking out. So I think that for me gives me hope, because I know that these are the leaders and they're going to take this over. And then I think ways for support and help. I mean, I really, hate to say it, but it's always about the money. No,
it is. That's mine.
Because we really do the wraparound support, and I mean, the majority of our families are disproportionately impacted. They live in disproportionately impacted areas. That was our target area. So because of that, asking them for $60 to see a Mets game, or $25 or $70 for batting cages. We supply everything for our children, from pants to cleats to hats to anything that they need, water bottles. So really just supporting us, donating, if that's supplies, we appreciate it, whatever it is, but just, and even volunteering, right? We find that Stanford is a baseball city. So we've got a lot of old baseball players or enthusiasts that just want to help and support. And so always looking for that too, just coming, our kids need to be exposed to as many great things as possible.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Maya. You are really a remarkable human being, and your leadership and community level work is just so incredible. So I appreciate you taking the time with me today. We will certainly share more about Corners in the link to this episode, and make sure that we share ways that people can support this. So again, thank you. Really, really appreciate you joining.
Thank you.
At United Way of Coastal and Western Connecticut, we work side by side with our community to address critical needs and advance equitable pathways to well-being and financial security for everyone. Rooted in Impact is a podcast that highlights how we are making a difference in our communities. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to learn more about us, visit unitedwaycwc.org. And if you're interested in being our podcast sponsor, we'd love to have you. You can find new episodes every other Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts.